understand. So the idea is I find the force of gravity on the orange ball. 2 times 9.8 gives me 19.6. I find the force of gravity on the blue ball. 10 times 9.8 gives me 98. So I get two very different values for the force of gravity. Why is it that I get 9.8 for both of the accelerations then? Because we said that gravity is the same on all objects, but it's clearly not. The force of gravity is not the same. It's 98 on the big blue one. It's 19.6 on the small orange one. So if it's very different between those two, why am I getting the same answer? Okay? And it has to do with the difference between weight and mass. Mass is a measure of inertia. Objects that have more inertia are going to be harder to change. Okay? So why am I not getting a smaller answer than 9.8? If it's harder to change the larger ball, then why is it still falling at the same rate? Any ideas? Andrew? Yes. Not the mass, the weight is balancing it out. Okay? Why is it that you're still getting the same answer? This one has more mass, therefore it is harder to move. This one has less mass, therefore it's easier to move. But it's balanced out by having more weight in order to move it. And this is balanced out by having more weight and able to move it. Okay? It's a weird example here, just bear with me. You start a moving company, and your moving company's policy is it always takes 2 hours to move. Always. Takes 2 hours to move all the time. Okay? So you get a millionaire. This millionaire is like, hey man, I need you to move my house in 2 hours. You're like, sweet man, I can do that. So you bring 500 employees and you come to this millionaire's house and you clear out the whole thing. You bring like 50 trucks. You bring all these employees. You clean out the whole thing in 2 hours. You're like, sweet. Okay? Then you meet this guy that lives in the back of his RV. He's like, hey man, I need to clear out my RV in 2 hours. You're like, sweet. And you show up with one child. And you're like, all right, kid, get to it. All right? You don't need as many people to clear out the one person in 2 hours because they don't have as much stuff. You need a lot more people to clear out the big place, the millionaire's place, because they have more stuff. You don't need as much force to move a 2 kilogram block, so you don't get as much. You need a lot more force to move a heavier object, so you get a lot more. The thing you want to keep in mind is the force of gravity balances out the mass. The weight balances the mass. And because they balance out, you always end up with 9.8. So is gravity the same? No. Does gravity balance out? Yes. So gravity is not the same every time, but the effect of gravity is the same because the weight balances out the mass. It's a weird concept. It was a weird example. Anyone have any questions for me? Yeah. Don't say that, because I won't let you do that on the test, unfortunately. No, because gravity's not the same everywhere. What you can say is the effect of gravity is the same because the weight will increase when the mass increases. Something like that. That's fine. Okay? All right. Any other questions for me? Looky there. We're already done with that. Go ahead and put that away.